I quit from what it seemed a toxic workplace for developers, and today, after 1 year, I'm 100% sure it was the right choice. Before getting into details, this video is absolutely not to shame my previous company, because I actually learned a lot while being there. But I want to share my own experience so that, for example, you can try to identify yourself if you see something similar in your current workplace, some of the red flags I'm going to describe, and you might consider to start looking for new opportunities. Let's put it that way. Let's jump right into the red flag number 1. No study time for developers at all. So the situation is, we, the developers, noticed that the management team was doing an agile course or something like that, and we said, okay, cool, so can't we also, developers, have some protected time to study and learn new things? And the CEO, or actually the wife of the CEO, which was the head of human resources, said, but do developers need to study? I mean, they have work to do. There's no time to learn new things. And okay, okay, yeah, developers don't need to study. No, they have to work, and that's a good red flag. So red flag number 2 is what I like to call having a puppet team leader, which I don't want to blame the team leader himself, because I don't really think it was his fault. Let's imagine the scenario where there's a backend developer in the company since a few years, so always working on the same project. He knows how the data flows into the project, all the interactions, he knows a lot about the domain. He's the perfect one to be promoted to the tech lead. But he's a good developer. No one said he's a good manager. And the result is that everyone from the upper management keeps blaming this new tech lead or manager or whatever you want to call him for everything that doesn't work. And what does this person do? Moving the blame chain to the developers. So every time something goes wrong, the management is angry, blames the team leader, which says, yeah, the developers didn't do good, I will tell them to do better next time. And, well, it's not always developers' fault. One more red flag I can think of is how the culture of feedback is lived inside the company. So in that specific case, when we had bigger problems carrying away a lot of resources, they often try to do some emergency meeting to talk about the problems, identify them, also blame someone, and maybe try to find a solution. But the solution was never something that was kept after the meeting. So let's say the requirements are not well enough written, so the analyst department should talk more with the development department. After a week, no changes at all. After a month, emergency meeting. Analyst department does not talk with development department. But it's the same meeting we did a month ago. One more red flag is the blaming culture. Let's say there's a feature not properly implemented, there's something slightly different from the expected. The developer blames who wrote the requirements because they weren't clear enough. Who wrote the requirements blames that developer because he had to know what the requirements were about. So he didn't write everything because he expected the developer to implicitly know some extra steps. And who's right here? Well, no one, because if this happened quite often, maybe it's a miscommunication problem. It's not about blaming who's at fault. The thing is, identifying why the developer and who wrote the requirements are not on the same page, make them talk, and find together how to better write requirement list so that they're both on the same page. So instead of trying to identify the solution or a solution together, the goal was to say, hey, it's his fault, not mine. So blame him, not me. when you work every day in this kind of environment, even if this doesn't directly happen to you, you always have the fear that it might happen to you at some point. And if you do even a little mistake, you're scared, you're afraid of raising your hand and say, hey, I made this little mistake, but I'm willing to help not making it again. Because then everyone will finger point at you for the one who made the mistake. So again, you cannot learn or grow in a similar work environment. And now, after talking about the red flags, here's the day. The day I decided enough was enough. So here's a funny story. I got an email asking to estimate a task, and they said I think this is gonna take a couple of days. Later that day, I got a reply from that email from the analyst department, and they said, hey, your team leader, the puppet leader I said earlier, said it takes less than 2 hours. And I was like, okay, then I will ask my team leader, what did he see that he makes him think it's just 2 hours? Maybe I learned something new. His response was, well, if I explain to you why it takes 2 hours, I better do that myself. Okay, so who is supposed to be my team leader, my guidance in the project, said I better do that myself rather than teaching you something new. No, stop. I'm out. And today, I actually want to thank him for that response, because it was actually what gave me the strength to decide to quit my job. It's never easy because you're kind of in your comfort zone. Even if you recognize that the culture is toxic, but you know, why should I leave my job? Actually, they paid me, never had problems on the salary. I knew other colleagues and I had a lot of fun with them. I made new friends. So why should I take the risk of going somewhere else? Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. And well, I was a lot unsure and maybe afraid of doing this step. But after that day, I decided I was actually ready to do that step forward. And well, fast forward 1 year, like I said in the intro, I'm 100% sure that was the right choice. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, maybe some of the red flags I talked about, you see them in your company or you see something else, well, think about it. I'm not saying leave immediately, because oftentimes all you have to do is to talk to your boss, talk to your colleagues, talk with the management, and you'll eventually sort it out. Maybe it was a little misunderstanding which brought you to an unpleasant situation, and all you had to do is actually open yourself and try to fix the situation by better communicating. And most of the time it will be enough. But if it's some months, it's some years, you find yourself not growing in that company, you think that you gave the company all you had to give them, and the company gave you all it had to give you, well, you have a flat line forward you. Well, think about it. Try to look for other companies. Now that you have remote work, you're no longer forced to look for companies near your area. You can work for everywhere in the world, just with English or with other companies in your country, but they're far from your home. So you have plenty of opportunities. Make sure to update your CV, start doing some interviews, and yeah, maybe you'll find a better workplace when you feel better. That feeling of waking up already tired because you know you're gonna have one new shitty day at work is not helping you. Not only under the work point of view, but actually if you wake up tired, you will be tired during the entire day, and maybe you will argue more often, not only with the colleagues, but with everyone else in your private life. So yeah, in conclusion, in my case, maybe I've been lucky, but changing job made me a huge leap forward. For example, now that I have this channel, it's something that I couldn't really do in my previous job. And I'm so thankful about taking this decision. And this was everything I wanted to talk about today. This was more a personal video, not a technical one as usual. So let me know in the comments if you might be interested in similar videos to this one, where I just talk and tell you something about my personal experience. Maybe it resonates to you in some ways, it can help you having slightly different points of view. Well, the comment section is open, let me know. And that was really it. Thanks again for watching. Like button, subscribe button, bell, everything you know, and see you soon.